coaster year, including a very public breakdown. Our next guest is back on top with a highly anticipated CD called Unbroken, which is in stores today. Please welcome the very courageous Demi Lovato. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. So you are, let me just start with this. You're how old, 19?
Yes.
19 years old. And you have gone through a lot of stuff recently. And I have to say, for a 19-year-old person who has gone through this much, most people are encouraged to just try to make it go away and make excuses and not talk about it and not be honest about what goes on. And I think it helps to talk about it. I think it doesn't help at all to shove it away and not talk about it. So thank you for being courageous. Thank you for talking about it, because I think it helps other girls.
Thank you.
It really does.
Thank you.
I think if you can help people in this business, that's the most important thing we can do, to not just entertain, but to say, you know, here's something I learned, and maybe I can help other girls from not going through the same thing. So
Right.
you had a, was it called a breakdown, a meltdown? What happened?
It was called a mess.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to call it, but I basically, yeah, I mean, I've called it a breakdown, a meltdown. I went from being at the highlight of my career, having a movie about to come out or just come out, and being on this tour and having so much success, and so many things were going great in my life, and then all of a sudden, my personal life just went down, like at crazy speeds, and I had a negative breakdown, and it changed my life forever. But I'm glad that it did, because if I had never gone into treatment, I don't know if, one, I would even be sitting here today, two, if I would be alive today. So,
because you've been here a couple of times, and I know you from being on the show, but I really don't read those magazines, and I don't pay attention,
Right.
so I don't know what happened. I know because you're here and we're going to talk about it, and I'd heard, a little bit. So you had, can we talk about what the problems were? Okay, so you were bulimic, is that right? Mm-hmm. And anorexic as well, or just bulimic?
well, they called it anorexia binge purge type, so it was technically both. In a way, I was anorexic when I was 12 years old. When I came on the show and talked about bullying before,
yeah.
And I wanted so badly to speak about how much it had affected me, but I couldn't really say how much it had affected me, because I wasn't even through with the issues that it had caused.
Right.
So.
And that started the cutting then? You would cut yourself?
Right.
And because you felt so badly about yourself?
Right. I think that years of abuse in school, and just, so many things were said to me that just haunted me every day. And I went from having all these friends to none. And that's the effects that bullying can have on you. And that's why I'm so adamant and outspoken about why it's so important to get the awareness out there that teen bullying can cause these issues. I struggled with cutting, with anorexia, basically bulimia, and
were you drinking or doing drugs or anything like that?
I would be lying to you if I said that I never experimented or self-medicated with drugs and alcohol.
And people around you must have seen this going on, and everyone
Right.
just tried to prop you up and put you on stage so that everybody was making money. I mean, obviously, it was a brave thing for whatever happened to go into treatment, because you were making money for a lot of people, and yet you inside were a mess.
It was really difficult, because on one side I had my family and my closest friends telling me, you need to go into treatment, and then I had the pressures of some people that didn't really care.
Right.
And luckily those people are out of my life now.
Good.
Those people are nowhere. I don't speak to them. They're out of my life. And
Good.
I am in such a good place now that I can definitely weed out those people in my life. If I sense somebody that's coming into my team that doesn't care about me, they're out. You know what I mean? My health and my recovery comes first, and everyone on my team knows that. And when it starts to get too much, I say, "Whoa, slow down!" Like,
good.
I'm working way too much, and they'll slow it down.
And that's very mature for someone who's 19 to say, "Whoa, slow down," because you know that's sort of the pace of this business anyway, much less at that age. And for you to actually to recognize, because I think you have to be healthy to recognize unhealthy. If you're unhealthy, you're just surrounded by unhealthy people, and you don't know any different because they're just, you know, they're kind of on the same page.
Exactly, and that's why I was so successful with manipulating the people around me with my addictions, and that's what happens when you are, you know, you've lost control of yourself to a disease.
So if you, obviously, a lot of young girls are looking at you and seeing that you went through stuff that maybe they're going through right now. And how can you, in a quick soundbite, how do you talk to those girls and say, you know, what advice do you have for them?
Well, one of the reasons why I became so outspoken when I decided to come out of treatment and talk about my issues was because when I grew up and I was dealing with the pressures to be thin, it was the time in the tabloids when very, very skinny girls were on the cover of every magazine. And that's what I was looking up to. So that's what I had to idolize. I don't want that for young girls to idolize.
No.
So
unhealthy.
It is. It's very unhealthy. And there was nobody out there for me to look at and say, you know what, maybe this is unhealthy. Maybe starving myself isn't the answer. So I want to be that for a 13-year-old girl at home deciding whether or not to eat dinner, or a 18-year-old girl deciding whether or not to keep her breakfast down. You know, there needs to be a role model out there. And for the first time in my life, I actually feel like one.
Good, good. I think, and we need to write letters, or we need to speak up when we keep seeing the people that are supposedly healthy are clearly unhealthy.
Right.
And that it starts making it's sending the wrong message to everybody to glamorize and glorify these girls that are way too thin. And find somebody to talk to. Just find someone.
Speak up. Speak to your parents. Speak to people at your guidance counselor at school. There's so many people that are willing to listen. You just have to be willing to speak up.
When we come back, Demi is going to sing for us. This is a very talented cat.